Hi everyone, I'm Beck from Parrot Life and I'm your Sydney consultant. And it's now my turn to run you through another video in our series on environmental changes and the things that you can do to help reduce problem behaviours. And today our video will focus on physical habitat, in particular cage setup. Now, even though we're indoors, we can still do a lot to help stimulate our birds to utilise that energy throughout the day. We want to encourage healthy species-specific behaviours, and this can be done by providing access to natural perching, climbing structures, the introduction of substrates, providing a safe space where they can seek refuge not only from potential threats, but also the elements. So I'm going to dive right in on one of the most common problems that we hear about, and honestly, we've all been there, when birds are housed in tall cages with play gyms, and they just don't want to come down. Okay, so when you offer your hand for a step up, they either run away, or even worse, they bite. Well, it's our goal as parrot owners to learn how to better interpret why our birds behave the way that they do, and identify ways to rearrange the environment to make the more acceptable behavior easier and more rewarding to do. So let's look at a simple change that we can do to your cage setup that gives your bird the opportunity to practice complying with our request of coming down. Start by attaching a short perch to the side of the cage. Now we need to practice a stationing behavior. Make sure to reward each and every act of cooperation. Ask him to step up often just to receive a treat, and then set him straight back down. In this way, he will look forward to stepping up onto your hand as it signals attention or food without a cost. If the immediate consequence for stepping up is always going back to the cage, then your bird is going to be less willing to step up in the future. Now we need to ensure that being inside his cage is a desirable place to be. So about that cage, you need to acquire the biggest cage that budget will allow and your space will accommodate. Cages provide routine, safety, and hygiene for our companion parrots. Whilst I understand that it's not natural for a bird to be housed in a cage, it is also not natural for our birds to be roaming free in the household. The family house is full of dangers. Your parrot should have a cage to go to when they are not able to be supervised. A good cage setup provides a safe haven for your birds. Avoid round cages, and because birds prefer to move horizontally, go width rather than height. And those plastic or dowel perches that come with your cage, just throw them out or chop them up for a toy. You should really be sourcing natural branches like our Australian natives. Go for a walk down to the park after it's rained or we've had some big winds and get yourself a good stash of perches. Varying thickness, this will help with dexterity of their feet, getting them to kind of move and stretch, and also keep those toenails nice and trim. And don't forget to leave the bark on there because they love to rip that off. When positioning the perches, try not to clutter them. You still want your birds to be able to kind of jump from perch to perch, or ideally be able to fly. And try not to have the perches too close to the bars because they'll bump their tails. One thing I love to do when I set up a cage is to have a short perch attached to the inside of the door or just to the left of the door, so that again I can practice that stationing behavior. Get a cage with good wheels because portability is important. We want to be able to take our birds outside at least 2 to 3 times a week, maybe half an hour each time, as long as they're obviously safe from wild birds or any type of other predators, and get access to unfiltered sunlight. This will help keep them nice and healthy, good strong bones. In regards to the positioning of your cages, Most of the time the family living room would be your best option, as long as it's not a high traffic area. Okay, so no doorways, no hallways. They can very easily get startled as the door opens, or as people are constantly walking past. You can even get an increase in vocalizations and screeching behaviors because they're trying to kind of communicate with you every single time you're walking past. Make sure you place the cage where there's at least one solid wall behind them so that they can feel nice and secure. If it's not a wall, at least a towel. Birds are prey animals, so they're always looking out for predators that want to eat them. And we don't want them to feel too stressed because they're constantly having to watch their back. Now, windows and the wild birds outside is a very good source of valuable entertainment for our birds throughout the day, but it can also provide a sight of predators. So I tend to have an area where there's a good chunk of browse, leafy browse, or maybe the blinds half pulled over so that they can have a visual barrier. They can go behind there and feel nice and safe and secure. Provide one food bowl for each housed bird. This will help keep the peace amongst multiple bird households. Also utilize those foraging ideas we've been talking about, guys. Just make sure that your bird is physically capable of accessing their food. Also, bath time. Make sure there's a good water bowl in there because we all know they love having a good splash. To avoid problem behaviors, arrange the environment to make the right behavior easier and more effective than the wrong behavior. An alternative for sitting on shoulders could be lots of reinforcement for staying on their play stand. Many simple behavior solutions are missed because we are busy at looking at how to change the bird rather than the environment in which the behavior is happening. But do let us know if you have any behavioral problems that are relating to your cage setup or those play stands, and let's nut this out together so that we can have a bit more success in the future.